Good morning. So, today we're going to do something a little different. Well, not really different, but, a little bit different than what normal. Time for a little history lesson, sort of. So back in World War I, trench warfare caused a stalemate on the front lines. And British troops and German troops stuck in their trenches, sometimes even just mere feet from each other, caused a huge stalemate in the war. Everyone was scrambling to figure out how to get troops and firepower across those trenches and to be able to actually do some fighting without sustaining massive casualties. Enter the tank. Tanks were great, sort of. Early iterations, they were just clunky, slow, had a lot of mechanical issues, but they could get some firepower over the trenches and into the enemy line. Now what I have here on my stove is 3 different RC tanks. Today we're going to go through a little bit of the differences between hobby grade tanks and a toy grade tank. And we're also going to point out a lot of similarities because, aside from the size difference, these aren't much different. So first up, this is a Tagen T-3485 16th scale RC tank. This thing is heavy. The whole chassis is made of metal. It has light, a light, and machine gun lights up, and then when you're firing the airsoft cannon, that lights up. It's either that one or that one. One of those has a light bulb in it. I think it's that one. Has a smoke generator in the back. Smoke comes out of the exhaust port down there. Metal tracks and full sound, machine gun sounds, turret rotation sound, elevation sounds, engine forward, reverse. This thing is the whole package. This one, brand new, will run you somewhere around $400 in this configuration with the airsoft gun. Now yes, this does shoot 6mm airsoft pellets in the hatch. This is the remote that most Tagen tanks come with. It's fairly simple. It's got a toggle switch up here for the machine gun sounds. Start, stop. So when you flip that, it turns on the engine sounds, turns on the tank, and actually makes it so you can move the tank around. With these hobby grade ones, the tanks will not drive unless they're actually running. So here's the batteries. This is the size battery that fits inside this thing. You can see this is just a nickel metal pack. 7.2 volts. Just a standard NIM battery pack with a Tamiya connector. So this tank, in order to get at that, it's a weird little setup. Nice little hinge. I like it. Underneath, you've got the on-off switch for the smoke generator, on-off for the power, and then the little volume control. Turn it up, turn it down, and then that little switch, you hit that, and then the top part of the hull comes off. Now that I've hit the switch, the top part of the hull comes off and reveals the internals. Now, you've got motors, soundboard, where the battery goes, and as you can see right there, I pulled a little too far one day, and I pulled that wire out of the connector for the main cannon fire and recoil control. So without that, it doesn't make the main gun sound, and it doesn't do the little... It has a track recoil where it just kind of bounces back and then goes back forward when you shoot. So now that I got the battery in, I'm going to go on ahead, turn on the controller, turn on the tank. So this is standby. None of the inputs are working, none of the controls work, until wrong switch. This one. It's that one. As you can hear, now that the tank is on and running, this little switch is for the machine gun. Now in the controller, on this one, I just hold this down, and the barrel will adjust up and down. Now I flip the switch and it powers down, and now, once again, none of the controls work. So, the battery's back out, and the tank and the controller are off. Like I said, I pulled out the wire. I gotta go in and fix that somehow. Not sure how I'm gonna do that. I'm terrible with small wiring, but I just gotta resolder that end in. I might end up lengthening that wire so that way it doesn't happen again, but... So... That is, you know, the majority of Tagen tanks have that unless they've been modified, but this one is completely stock. I have not done anything to this tank yet, and that's just how it is. So now onto the second tank. This is a Henglong Pershing. Well, sort of. So this started out life as a Henglong M26 Pershing. Then, before I got into the whole 3D printing business, I had purchased this gun stabilizer, this extra turret armor, and this extra front plate off of Shapeways. Somebody 3D printed that. I believe it was resin printed. And so I bought that whole kit. It was like 90 some odd, almost $100 for just these two plates, this whole getup, and then this little stabilizer. And did a paint job, painted it to look like the T26E4 Freedom Super Pershing from World of Tanks. It's a game on PC and on console, just a tank game, fun. But again, no, on the T26, these are supposed to be cut off, and the tank treads are supposed to be half exposed. But I like the covered track, so I left it like that. And then the stock Pershing barrel ended here. I had a second Pershing that was a parts tank. I cut the barrel off and then added the rest of the tube for the extra length, because the T26 had a longer barrel. So I added the length to make it proper. Oh, and this ballast was part of the stuff I bought that was printed as well. So this Henglong came with this style remote. Similar to the Tagen, but different. So with this remote, there's on, and again, it's got all these little trims, machine gun sound button here. This, you hold this down. This one has a built-in safety, so you can't just hold up on one of the sticks and it'll fire the airsoft gun. You actually have to hold this button to release the safety to be able to shoot the pellets. And this one has the volume control here on the controller. You press these two buttons, you can switch the different sound effects. This button turns on the smoke generator, and this button starts the tank, like the little toggle switch on the Tagen's remote started the tank. This is the Henglong 5.3 system. So unlike the Tagen, which has the turret can rotate 360 degrees, this one can only go to about 270, so it goes till about right here, both sides. It can't do the full swing, whereas the Tagen can, and the newer Henglong It's not the 6.0, I think it's the newest version. I think it's 7.2, version 7.2 or some shit. Well, it's whatever version they're on now. The newest one has a 360-degree rotational turret with both the airsoft and the infrared battle models. So this one's the airsoft model. This is the 5.3 system. Came with these metal tracks. These are not like heavy-duty metal. These are zinc metal tracks. Zinc metal drive wheels in the back. The hull, turret, mostly plastic. It's a little bit, it's still heavy, but it's a little bit lighter than the Tagen because the Tagen is mostly metal. Can't really take this one apart to show you the insides because it doesn't pop off the battery tray. It's just one screw and it pops up from there. But again, underneath the tank we got the on-off switch, and that's about it. On this one, 2 headlights. It's got 2 tail lights as well. Let me spin her around here real quick. I'm knocking shit over. Has 2 tail lights. Again, smoke generator comes out the exhaust. I don't usually turn the smoke generator on unless I'm outside playing with them, but firing the machine gun, that port lights up red. It's supposed to have a little gun sticking out, but either mine didn't come with it or I lost it somewhere. Just a little clear piece, a little clear plastic gun barrel that glows red when you fire. Yeah, it's missing, but other than that. So this tank comes with this battery, or uses these style batteries. Again, it's just a NIM nickel metal hydro 7.2 volt battery pack with a Tamiya connector. I'll get the battery in. Okay, now that the battery's in, just like with the Tagen, standby mode, none of the inputs will function until you press this button here. Now on this one, I think I pulled a wire or there's something jammed for the elevation control. As you can see, it's supposed to be able to just go up and down like this, but I believe the control unit is jammed up on the inside because see, it's supposed to go up and down, but on this one, up is up and down is down, but as you can see, I think a pin might have just popped out because that's not supposed to be able to free float. That's supposed to be held in place. So I think I just gotta pop a little pin deck in place in there, and this will be working again. But other than that, as a machine gun. Now for the main gun, you have to, like I said, you have to hold this button and up, and that has the main gun firing sound and recoil, just like the Tagen, except this one, I didn't fuck it up somehow. So, again, as you can see, now for this one, volume control is on the controller. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then off. It's got 6 different levels that it just automatically sets to. Has this button. Smoke generator fires up, but I don't have any oil in there right now, so I'm not going to burn it out. Now press these 2 buttons here. Now that should, yeah, now it's got the other pre-programmed sound. Now when you switch to this sound, the main cannon firing still works. It has a different, completely different engine sound. Completely different machine gun sound, different main cannon sound, so it's... And you can, with this, you can also just press these. Press the gun, machine gun fires, kind of like that. So switch it back. Now we're back. So yeah, that is 2 hobby grade tanks. And now we're going to shut her down. And now we're back into standby mode, standby phase, whatever you want to call it. None of the inputs will work. Smoke generator won't turn on, nothing. So, now one of the best thing about the hobby grade tanks is if, let's say, when I go to pull this thing open and take apart and look at the gun elevator, say something's broken, I can buy a replacement part for it. If one of the motors goes out, I can buy replacements for it. They're fairly cheap and they're fairly easy to remove and replace. This M26, this Pershing, when I bought it as the M26 brand new, came ready to run with all the metal extras and such. It was just under 300 brand new. And that came with a battery. Ah, scratch that. That one did not come with a battery. All the batteries I bought myself. Now, for the last one. This is an M1 Abrams by HQ Hongquai. It's a Chinese toy brand. This one, as you can tell, is not as big. The other two were 16th scale. This one is somewhere probably 24th scale because it's a bit smaller. But even though it's toy grade, it still has some of those cool features. Here's the battery. Again, this one's just a NiCad, kind of similar to the NIM, but you know, nickel cadmium instead of nickel metal hydra. Tamiya connector, just a generic battery you can use for any RC shit. Here's the remote. Now, there's a little bit going on here with this because it's not very user intuitive. However, this button is for the machine gun sound. This button up here is to fire the airsoft, which you have to hold the machine gun sound, and this to fire. Muzzle elevation, this is muzzle depression. Elevation is that side. Turret left, turret right. Instead of having joysticks, they're just buttons, which is okay. I would rather have the full control, but for forward it's got 3 speeds, slow, medium, fast. For reverse it's just got slow and medium. Turning while you're going forward or reverse, you just hit one of these and it does it at different steering rates. This is for rotation, slow or fast, rotating which way. So I mean, it's a little bit more. It's child friendly because it's a hobby. It's not hobby grade. It's toy grade. It's definitely more child friendly with just the buttons instead of the little, you know, the control joysticks like the hobby grade stuff has. But it works and it functions pretty well. Now underneath you just have the on-off switch, battery compartment, 3D printed battery compartment door because I picked this up used and it didn't have the battery door, so I just quickly drew one up and printed it. The one thing that still baffles me about these toy grades is, you know, if you got one of these and your buddy's got one of these, you guys are going to want to fight against each other and shoot each other with airsoft pellets. This is a 40 megahertz system. They need to move away from this because with the other ones, you can have up to like 30-40 tanks running at the same time with no interference issues because the controllers are bound to a receiver inside the tank, and you can swap them out at any time for any other controller, any other receiver, or any other soundboard. All those are interchangeable, and it's pretty much a plug and play if you know how to, you know, solder and shit. Whereas this, you have to make sure your buddy has one that's not on the same frequency, and you're not within 3 feet of each other, or else the frequencies are going to interact with each other and fuck around, and it's just not going to be a fun time. You know, the whole point of these is to have fun with friends, and, you know, you won't be able to. So, being a little older, the on-off switch has a little bit of a a weird bug in it. So we'll switch that on. Under here, switch the tank on. Now, no standby mode with this. It's just as soon as it turns on, inputs, I can rotate the turret, bring the gun down, bring the gun up. Has sound, machine gun sound. Let me rotate this. Nope, and the only time the sound works is when you're driving. The only time the sound goes off is when you're driving, which is weird, but I guess. Holding down the machine gun, and the fire button, and boom. Got a little bit of recoil. Again, shoots 6mm airsoft pellets that just load in from one of these hatches. So, again, for a toy grade, this is pretty cool, as it's got a lot of the same stuff that the hobby grade has. However, it's just cheaper, much cheaper, and if it breaks, you can't just buy and replace parts. You're better off just buying a whole unit, because realistically, I tried looking this up. Like I said, I got this secondhand. I tried looking them up brand new, and the only thing I can find is like on eBay with 30 some odd dollars in shipping, brand new. This thing is like 60 bucks, ready to run. So I mean, 60 bucks, it breaks, and you gotta pay another $35 shipping from China. So it's already 120 bucks. It's halfway to getting a Hang Long. Just a plastic edition Hang Long will run you like 200 bucks. So for a little bit more money, you get one that's better, has better equipment, and is upgradable, and you can play with and enjoy a lot longer. But it's not saying that these don't have their place, because it sure does. I mean, it's kind of cool to like gauge interest, but it is what it is. It's kind of cool, but I wouldn't spend money on this. So in conclusion, hobby grade is always going to be better than toy grade, but some of the toy grades can be kind of fun, especially if you get them real cheap. I wouldn't pay full price. Like I said, I wouldn't pay full price for that tank. I would save up the extra $80 and get a Hang Long, an entry version of a hobby grade tank if I really wanted another 16 scale tank. But I mean, it's got its pros and cons. It's good if you want to see if your kids are interested in it, or if you can get it cheap and just want to play around before you spend the money on a hobby grade one. If you can find one cheap, sure, go ahead and pick it up. It'll be worth your time. But other than that, those are the main differences between the hobby grades and the entry grades for the tanks. If you like this kind of content and this was interesting to you, feel free to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell to be notified on all my new videos. I've been trying to stay regular, bringing content out, but with the holidays just going through, I've been super busy with my normal job, and I've been having a lot of people message me about having bodies for the trucks done. Right now I'm working on a 78 Firebird for a customer. He wants it to fit his Arma Felony, so I mean, this part 2 going now. Part 1 is done, so I'm doing that right now, and I've got a bunch of other drawing and other files to make. So stay tuned for more videos. The Rustler project, that's up there, right there. I'll be making a video on the builds for that later on. I got all the parts in, now I just got to start putting it together, and then I can just start, adding on all the extra stuff that I got sitting around. So yeah, stay tuned, have fun. If you got any questions, feel free to hit up any of the social medias or just send me an email. All that'll be linked in the description down below.